By me, Chair, whenever you're ready. Chair, your mic isn't on. Apologies.
Start again. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of the Children and Families Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which is open to the press and the public. The meeting is being broadcast live, and a recording of this meeting will be made available as soon as possible after the meeting has concluded. Please be aware that this meeting is being transcribed only for the purpose of producing the minutes. This transcript will be deleted once the committee approves the minutes. The transcript should not be downloaded by anyone other than Democratic Services. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. However, I have had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please, can members refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. May I remind members that as per statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any members attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by the members and officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by members of the public. So I can please ask that you use your cameras for the duration of the meeting. Please remember to keep your microphone muted when you are not talking, and please don't interrupt discussions until you have been notified of your intention to speak and you have been invited to do so. Moving on to the agenda. Item 1, welcome and apologies. Jay, do we have any apologies today?
Thanks, Chair. We've had apologies from Councillor James and Councillor Tew this morning.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. I think this has been a bit of a topic of conversation because we're all on various committees. So I'm going to announce that I'm a member of the corporate parenting committee. Anyone else?
Chair, I'd like to announce that I'm chair of the corporate parenting panel.
I'm also on corporate parenting.
I'm on the foster panel.
And I'm on the foster panel.
Thank you very much.
Chair, I'm on the corporate parenting panel.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Agenda item 3, the minutes of our meeting on the 9th of July 2025. Members, can you please state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, I will take them as agreed. All right. Agenda item 4, action sheet. There are no actions outstanding, so we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is our substantive reason for being here, where we're going to scrutinise the foster care service. Before we commence discussions, I would firstly like to welcome Jason O'Brien, Strategic Director of Children and Families and Education, Jacqueline Richards, Head of Children's Services, Kirsty Cook, Group Manager, Support and Resources, Jenny Wellham, Regional Director, MIST Regional Programme, and Emily Fenn, who's here observing. We're not going to go through the report today because we have rather a lot of questions. So, but obviously our main function for being here today is to review the foster care provision, look at the... I would also like to express the thanks of the committee to the Foster Care Support Group for inviting us along to their recent meeting and for speaking so openly and honestly about their experience of foster carers. Their contributions have been invaluable in helping us to achieve our scrutiny activity today. Thank you. Right, we'll just bang straight into the questions. Question 1, Councillor James-Jones.
Thank you, Chair. My question relates to paragraph 3.3 of the report. How will the staggered implementation of the Eliminate Profit programme impact IFAs? And more importantly, what impact will it have on our in-house foster care programme?
So in terms of the Eliminate agenda, obviously the plan is for there to be no profit from children's care by 2030. So in terms of that, how that influences our independent fostering agencies, from April 2026, all existing care providers, so no new providers will be able to enter the market who are for profit, and then by April 2027, those who are existing in the market won't be able to expand their provision. So if they've already got foster carers, they can continue to operate, but they won't be able to offer additional placements from what they can at that point in time. And then obviously by April 2030, we won't be able to place children in with for-profit providers other than in very exceptional circumstances.
So the anticipated impact of that then, Councillor, obviously will be that we would have more foster carers in-house rather than within that I guess that private profit-focused network.
That was the answer I was hoping you'd come up with. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Councillor Seaborn.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the foster carers for their visit. It was a very informative meeting, so on behalf of myself, I'd like to give thanks for them. My question is question 2 on 3.8 in the report. Within the discovery phase, we have been gathering information on a local, regional and national basis to inform potential future business cases. The question is, how much information have we managed to gather? And what is the quality of this information?
Thank you, Councillor Seaborn. There have been several strands to the information gathering part of this project. We've worked alongside the team, so we've gathered views and thoughts and ways in which we could improve and develop the service from members of the team and obviously their direct experience of working and supporting our foster carers. We've also had a foster carer consultation session, so we've heard it directly from our foster carers how we could further develop and their views on, their personal experiences on how they were attracted to becoming foster carers and the reasons for that, but also ways in which they feel that we would better retain our foster carers. And that was alongside an electronic form which we sent out for consultation to foster carers as well. In terms of the work being undertaken more broadly on a local, regional and national basis, we work very closely with colleagues in Foster Wales and our regional colleagues who are obviously also part of Foster Wales. And there have been a number of developments already, some of which I've detailed within the report, in terms of our big welcome profile. So we've developed them and we're working alongside our foster carers in order to ensure that we have good quality information out there for children and young people who are being placed with our foster carers. And also we have developed the app where foster carers refer people within their network that they feel could be good foster carers or who've expressed an interest. So there's lots of information around that, but also the national and the regional information in respect of what's working well, what we could improve at in terms of recruiting and retaining our foster carers. So I would suggest we've got a vast amount of information, lots of which is really good quality and first-hand experience from our foster carers and our staff.
Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Before we move on, I believe Councillor Watkins had a question.
Can't hear, sorry.
Apologies, Councillor Seaborn, I forgot my mic. Going back to question 1, you said that in some exceptional circumstances you could still place with IFAs. Can you give us some examples of what those circumstances might be?
It might be, for example, if there's a child who is already with an IFA provider and has been there for a significant period of time prior to April 2030, that we would put forward a case that it was in their best interest to remain with that foster carer and with that provider. I suppose that's probably the most obvious example.
Okay, thank you. And then just a quick one for question 2. I know you said that you consulted widely and broadly. Are you confident that you captured enough of the different foster carers' experiences?
Yes, I think the electronic questionnaire wasn't, the response rate wasn't as we would have liked to have seen. And that was one of the reasons that we decided to do an in-house, a face-to-face consultation with foster carers, because we know that lots of our foster carers like to engage in person, face-to-face, in order to provide their feedback. Foster Wales have also run consultations with foster carers and run conferences with foster carers. So, yes, I think that we have consulted quite widely with foster carers overall.
Question 3, Councillor Lucy Williams, please.
Thank you, Chair. You've pretty much answered the question I was going to ask, but it was just to understand a little bit more about the electronic questionnaire. You've actually just said that it wasn't such a good response. Could you work out why that was? What was the barrier to them sort of responding electronically? It sounds to me as well like face-to-face is generally a better way of doing it. But yeah, just understanding about the electronic, the pitfalls of using electronic questionnaires.
Thank you. Yes, we do find, as you've said, that face-to-face seems to be a better way of consulting with foster carers. We send out regular surveys to our foster carers on a 6-monthly basis in order to feed into other regulatory reports. And generally, we've seen a decline in the responses to those feedback forms. And I think it is a challenge, and I think the feedback we have from foster carers is they do receive quite a lot of emails, so we're really trying hard to reduce the amount of emails and make sure that they have kind of one bulletin. But a lot of our foster carers are becoming more au fait with electronic forms and accessing emails, and it is something that we're supporting them with in order to try and improve their IT access and hopefully see some more increases in response.
Just to add, I think that the important thing for me is that foster carers have had the opportunity to have their voice heard and to contribute. The response rate for me isn't so much of a concern, provided we know that the message has got out there to foster carers, and if they do want feedback, that they have the opportunity to do that, whether that's by completing a survey or attending face-to-face. What I would say, just to add to those points about the response rate, is that I know that the survey that the inspectors circulated to foster carers as well, there was a very low response rate to that. But in fact, the inspectors also attended a face-to-face meeting with foster carers, which is where they managed to get that more kind of valuable feedback.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not sure if we've already covered it, but I noticed you did staff consultations as well. So what sort of feedback did you get from the staff?
To be honest, there was lots of feedback. I think we find quite often that foster care feedback and staff feedback seems to be quite different. Actually, what staff feedback sort of suggested that the support for foster carers is really good, and talked about different challenges around finances and things like that. And actually, when we spoke to our foster carers, there were lots of smaller things, and I think some of those things were discussed with you when you came to meet them, around other challenges around the foster care system and other things that they would like to develop more broadly, and less focused on the financial aspects of it, more around the broader system and support.
I think, sorry, just to add to that as well, there's recently been I think it's the Fostering Network published a report around exit interviews from foster carers. So essentially, they'd offered an opportunity to all local authorities in Wales when they had foster carers leave to provide an opportunity to have a conversation with an independent person to discuss why they'd made the decision to leave fostering. And again, the key thing that came from that across Wales was about the support. So there was less focus around the finances and more about the support, and particularly for those who had left fostering within a relatively short period of time, I would say. So the first sort of 3 to 5 years, the biggest thing for them was about the support that they received.
What I would say, having spoken to the carer support group, although they pointed out some sort of issues, they were at pains to say that the support they were getting was fantastic, and they were keen to make sure that we weren't taking it as any criticism of the sort of social workers and the support staff that are helping them, because they were very appreciative. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you. Councillor Price, please.
We are holding a face-to-face consultation event with our foster carers to give them the opportunity to share their views around both recruitment of foster carers and how we could improve or make changes to support retention. When will this event take place? How will we promote to ensure a high engagement rate?
Thank you. We actually undertook the consultation session after you left the support group on the 25th of September. So we undertook it there. We used technology, so we had a QR code so that people could contribute without saying who they were. They didn't want to tell us face to face. So we used a Mentimeter survey, and we put questions on the screen and responses, and then for anybody who wanted to talk in more detail about what the information they were contributing, they were given the opportunity if they wanted to elaborate and provide further context. And I think it was really rich information, it was really good quality, and it gave us some really good food for thought to feed into our discovery report.
Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Thomas, please.
4.1, kinship carers and foster allowances. Can you set out how different types of foster carers can obtain the enhanced fostering allowance, and set out why there are instances where kinship carers may not obtain the enhanced allowance?
Yes, thank you. So we have 2 allowances. So we've got the main allowance, which is the minimum is set by Welsh Government, and we pay in line with that national minimum allowance. That is paid to all foster carers for each child that they have in their care, and the amount is intended to cover the cost of caring for the child. Then we have the enhanced allowance, which is essentially the remuneration. Not all local authorities refer to it as an enhanced allowance. You'll hear some local authorities referring to the fostering fee. So for all prospective kinship carers, they receive information about our enhanced allowance policy at the point that they put their application in, essentially, to become a kinship foster carer. That sets out transparently what the policy is, what the expectations are, and there's eligibility criteria associated with that. They can then make a decision whether they want to opt into that and be assessed in line with that criteria, which would include the skills, abilities to care for any child, for example. It would include things around their training and development, attending support groups, co-production with the local authority around recruitment and retention of foster carers. They make the decision whether they wish to be assessed in line with that or not. If they do, obviously we complete that assessment. So there will be some kinship foster carers who receive that and others who don't, either because they choose not to be assessed in line with that criteria or because it's determined that they don't meet that criteria. If it's the latter and they don't meet that criteria for any reason, they have the opportunity through the review process to ask again and to be reassessed against that criteria.
Is there a limit then to the number of times that they could come back and ask to be reassessed, or is it, you sort of get one opportunity and then, we say, well, you're not meeting the requirements?
There is no limit, but what I would say is that obviously there needs to be a reasonable time between somebody applying and us determining that they don't meet that criteria. So we would usually say that that would fit in line with the review process, which is annual. Of course, if there was an exceptional change in somebody's circumstances, then we would consider that on a case-by-case basis as to whether we pulled that review forward. But ordinarily, it would be on a 12-month basis at the point that they have their annual review.
Yeah, sorry, I was under the impression that kinship carers didn't get any allowance at all, but they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So all foster carers have the allowance, which is the allowance intended to cover the cost of caring for the child. The remuneration element, the enhanced allowance, is assessed based on the eligibility criteria, and all foster carers have the opportunity to be assessed against that criteria.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Some of the feedback we've received since the meeting actually was that the process for applying for a special guardianship order can be quite overwhelming and intrusive. Are we offering or can you describe the sort of bespoke support that we offer for those going through this pathway?
Was that specific to special guardians as opposed to...
It was, yeah.
Okay. I mean, there would be an assessing social worker who would complete any special guardianship order assessment. I think it is an intrusive process. I would argue rightly so. With a special guardianship order, essentially, if a special guardianship order is granted, then that individual would have overriding parental responsibility for that child, and the likelihood is that there would be no open involvement from the local authority on an ongoing basis unless they chose to have that support. So I think, assessing social workers obviously need to work on an individual basis with each special guardians, and their kind of needs for support will differ depending on their circumstances. So I would like to say that we would tailor that support through the assessment process depending on their needs. We also have a kind of pre-approval training that's specific to connected persons or kinship foster carers, so provides them an opportunity to meet others who are going through that process. We can link them up with other existing kind of kinship foster carers if they want that support. Yeah, I mean, happy for suggestions on anything that we could do to improve the support through that process, but I certainly think that support is there.
Okay, thank you. I think we all understand the need for a pretty robust assessment. So we take your point. Thank you. Councillor Thomas, please.
Thank you, Chair. And my question relates to paragraph 4.1. Special guardians are granted enhanced parental responsibility, enabling them to make significant decisions for the child. Is enhanced parental responsibility not available to kinship carers or long-term foster carers? What support is given to foster carers without parental responsibility, especially on such matters as health appointments?
So foster carers don't have any parental responsibility, so the local authority has parental responsibility for children where there's a care order in place. Special guardians have parental responsibility. They share that with parents, but they have overriding parental responsibility in the same way that the local authority do for children who are in foster care. Sorry, what was the second part of your question, Councillor?
Parental responsibilities, especially on matters such as health appointments.
Okay. So we have a delegated authority policy within the local authority, because what we wouldn't want is to create disruption to a child's life as a result of them being in the care of the local authority. So what should happen is, prior to a child being placed with a foster carer, there should be a pre-placement planning meeting with all the relevant people around the table to discuss the needs of that individual child and what delegated authority will be given to that foster carer to make decisions in respect of that child. So it could be something as basic as, can a foster carer, without anybody's permission essentially, take a child to have their hair cut? And in most cases, obviously, that would be a yes. And then there are things that obviously become more complex, for example, in relation to medical treatment, who would be able to sign consent for a significant procedure, for example, immunisations. We need to remember that obviously parents continue to have parental responsibility for these children, and it's important that they play a part in those discussions and decisions in relation to the care of their children.
Sorry, this is a sort of an addition to that question. So it's really interesting to hear that you mentioned about the discussions about delegated responsibility and decision-making for long-term foster carers, because I don't know if my colleagues agree, but I don't think we fully understand that delegated role. And I'm wondering if there may be, and the fact that that didn't come up particularly in your conversation, I wonder if there's something around the way that communication is well, about communication really, about understanding the delegated role for the foster carers, because I can understand that for simple things, like, getting a haircut, but obviously health-related things are actually a parental responsibility and therefore the role of the local authority. I guess what we were picking up was there's sometimes delay in understanding when and where a child gets, going for vaccinations or other health things. So I think that's a very useful thing to understand about that or foster carers understanding what is delegated to them and what isn't delegated to them. So thank you.
Okay. I'm next. Paragraph 4.2 of the report is quoted from there. It's the birthday allowance payable to foster carers was instated to all TCBC approved foster carers, and the revised eligibility policy for enhanced allowance was introduced. I'm aware that the Welsh Government has recently launched a consultation on proposed changes to improve adoption, fostering and kinship services in Wales, including considering a clearer explanation of how different types of foster carers can obtain the enhanced fostering allowance. How is this consultation progressing, and are we yet aware of the proposals for this?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. We're aware of the consultation and will be submitting a response in relation to that consultation. I think the policies and how local authorities manage their allowances differ significantly across Wales. So, for example, in terms of terminology, we use the term enhanced allowance, other local authorities don't. Some local authorities have skill-based banding. So, for example, they have level 1, you'll get X amount. If you progress to level 2, you'll get another amount. So I think the consultation is obviously a national consultation and proposals, not necessarily based on our enhanced allowance policy. But obviously, anything that comes out of that consultation, we would obviously take on board in terms of providing further clarity around our enhanced allowance, what the eligibility criteria means and how that can be met.
Thank you very much. Councillor Watkins.
Do we have the timescale for the consultation? Do we know when we expect to hear any results from it?
I think it closes on the 18th of October, thereabouts. May not have that date correct, but it's around about the 18th of October. In terms of when we expect the kind of response from that, I'm not sure, but I can certainly share that when we're aware of it.
Thank you. Councillor Price, please.
Thank you, Chair. Question 9, paragraph 4.2. From 2025-26, a further one FTE social worker post was agreed to manage additional demand if projects benefits achieved, but due to the reduction in foster carer households, this hasn't been required. Has the funding for this post been ring-fenced. Should the position change?
Not aware of the funding being ring-fenced, but obviously because we've seen a reduction in our foster care households as opposed to that increase, there isn't a need to recruit into that additional post, but obviously it's something that we would revisit in the event that we did increase the number of foster care households. And that was based around kind of best practice in terms of what a supervising social worker's caseload should be, for example. So there's certainly no justification for filling that post at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Janet Jones.
Thanks, Chair. My next question, question 10, relates to paragraph 4.3 of the report. Foster Wales launched in 2021 with the aim to unite all 22 local authorities fostering services in Wales and to have one consistent brand aiming to encourage more people to foster with the local authority. Other than creating a consistent brand, how does Faster Wales work with us as a local authority in order to support our activity in recruiting and retaining foster carers?
Thank you. I think I've touched on some of the points around that in relation to new initiatives that Foster Wales have introduced around the Big Welcome profile and the Act to assist with recruiting foster carers. And we work really closely on a national basis. We have regular annual conferences with foster carers, we also, which are run by Foster Wales. We have regular senior management meetings and we have regional meetings with colleagues across Gwent and our regional manager. And they've really helped us to kind of map the benefits for foster carers and look at what we're doing in comparison with other local authorities, both on a regional and national basis. And that kind of is feeding into the project that's ongoing as well, around making sure that we've got the best possible offer to make us attractive to our foster carers. They have also, as I've detailed in the report, we've had substantial investment from Foster Wales in terms of our recruitment and development officer, who prior to this period, the previous recruitment and development officer had a caseload of foster carers, so wasn't able to give the real focus and commitment to recruitment and retention of foster carers. So that role has changed significantly. It really has meant that we are a recognisable brand out in the community. You know, our posters, our recruitment events, our stalls, our information. So we're very much kind of out there in a recognisable brand since the introduction of Foster Wales. So I think it's the work together, united as 22 local authorities, but also I think it's really strengthened our regional work, which was already there, but I think it's strengthened it.
Okay. Can I come back in? Is the funding from Welsh Government for foster care, is it a long-term commitment?
No.
In other words, right. It's a bit.
Councillor Jones, you've got the next one as well.
Paragraph 4.4. Further funding was received, which was agreed to be spent flexibly, and this has meant that we had a full-time community support worker who has assisted with non-regulatory duties. What impact has this seen? How long will the funding be available?
What it's meant to us is that our community support worker is out there actively supporting foster carers, supporting with things like daily logs, where foster carers have sometimes struggled with, again, the electronic systems around it, because it is clicking on a link, filling out a form, and the form comes back to us. So that's been of real help. Our community support workers have also, they actually deliver some learning and development to foster carers. supporting them to access the online training hub. Again, another online system which some foster carers have struggled with, but they're, out there actually talking our foster carers through it and making sure that they've got their login details and they're able to access it. Other sort of things that have been a struggle sometimes around obtaining passports, they've been able to support foster carers with that and making sure that they're in place for our children and young people. So I think it's quite a broad role. Yeah. They've been able to offer a lot of support, which isn't a regulatory requirement, but is something that definitely our foster carers benefit from.
Yeah. So how long is this funding for this post available, or again are we looking towards government to further fund that?
We have just had confirmation of that the continuation of that funding, but it's not a long-term basis. I'd need to double-check the exact term of it and come back to you if that's okay, Councillor.
Sorry, just to add, the other thing that the community support worker has been able to support with is the offer of support groups, which we keep really careful. We review it really closely based on numbers accessing it and how beneficial they're finding it. So yeah, they assist with running daytime and evening support groups, which move around the borough, so they're not just in Cwmbran or in Pontyclun, because that was one of the areas of feedback we received. We've also got an evening online support group, which is there available for foster carers who obviously work or who have other commitments within the day. We're in the process of trying to develop a drop-in session for foster carers who are caring for babies and toddlers, so that we're hoping we'll be able to run on a monthly basis, and that's following feedback from our foster carers.
Jay, can I come in? Because this relates to a later question. You say that you hold these monthly sessions in Cwmbran. Have you thought of effective moving it up the valley, by now anywhere in Cardiff? Because I think they would have another impact. So is that something you could consider future?
Yes, we do. We alternate them between Cwmbran and Pontypool, based on the buildings that we've got available to us. So yeah, we do. We have developed that. That's relatively recent, I believe, this year that it's moved now. So it's not just a Cwmbran-based support group. It does offer it happen in the north of the borough as well, and then obviously the online offer as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay.
Question 12. Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. And this is in reference to 4.5, where it says, through the app, foster carers are able to refer other potential foster carers and will receive up to £500 as a reward. Just to have an understanding, have we had any successful recruitments through the app, and how is the app itself advertised, and are we confident that foster carers know enough about it and feel confident to use it?
Thank you. I think fair to say it started off quite slowly in terms of interest, and that also seems to be a word of mouth thing when we have foster carers who do refer friends and then they become foster carers and receive that £500 reward. I think then it kind of incentivises foster carers to sort of spread the word around it. But what we have done more recently is we have asked some members of staff all members of staff should be promoting it to foster carers, but we have had some specific asks about how to use it. So we have asked members of staff to go out and actually talk them through it, log them in and help them to do that. In terms of accessing and being aware of it, it is discussed at things like the foster care support groups. It's also visible on our members area of our website, which is solely for our foster carers. So all of the information's there. And we also, at our foster carer appreciation lunch, which some of you were present for, there was a stall there talking about the Care Friends app and setting people up there. So I think we've shared a lot of information about it, but it's still an ongoing process to make sure that all of our foster carers are on there and are aware of exactly what the incentive is for them.
So would you have numbers? Would you have rough numbers about if the app itself has actually resulted in new people coming forward at this point?
I'm aware of 2 payments having been made for full approval of foster carers, and I'm aware that There's been a recent referral as well, which is in the assessment process. Thank you.
Councillor Watkin.
Thank you. Just for clarity, really, it says in the report that they can receive up to £500, and you just made reference to £500. So is it a set fee, or is there a sliding scale?
It's a sliding scale, depending on what point of assessment the recommended foster care or prospective foster care gets to. So if they are fully approved, then that is where the maximum payment amount comes in.
And I believe you've got the next couple of questions, Councillor Watkin.
Thank you. Yeah, with reference to paragraph 4.6, it says it's dealing with the number of mainstream foster care households that have been approved, and there is a notable decrease. Do we know the main factors behind that decrease?
I think there are lots of reasons for that. We do gather that information internally. We also, as Jacqueline's already mentioned, the exit interview pilot where all of our foster carers were offered an exit interview after they'd left the service. So I think fair to say that reasons vary vastly. Some relate to things like retirement or long service as foster carers. Others relate to an expression of perhaps not feeling as supported as they would have wanted to. And I think what we have seen is kind of a notable difference in where foster carers were assessed and did their pre-approval training during COVID. That was all online. And I think what we've seen as a result of that is perhaps them not being as prepared as we would have liked them to be. And we did see many of our foster carers who were approved during those times resigning quite soon after they became approved foster carers, which is obviously a shame. We've also seen foster carers leaving the service for really positive reasons, like them deciding to offer a when I'm ready placement to children and young people after they're 18. Special guardianship orders being granted to foster carers, so securing permanency for the children in their care. Yeah, so there's a vast array of reasons. That's just some of them.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Watkin.
So moving on to paragraph 4.9, it says the increased visibility has seen an increase in the number of inquiries about fostering, but this has not consistently resulted in increased foster care approvals in Torfaen. Have we looked into why the increase in number of inquiries has not translated into an increase in foster care approvals?
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. We're in very close contact with prospective foster carers as soon as they make an initial inquiry. We log an inquiry when somebody seeks information. So if we send an information pack out, then we log that as an inquiry. So I think fair to say that we, because we are spending lots of time out in the community, we receive lots of people asking us for information, but what we know is that quite often it takes a number of times for somebody who's possibly considering fostering to really commit to that and make a decision that, yes, that's for them. So I think that predominantly relates to those inquiries where they're making the initial inquiry but not quite ready. But what we are doing is maintaining contact with them, provided they're willing for us to. And we then obviously check back in with them to see if they are in a place where they are ready to consider fostering at that point. So yes, and I think that's the reason people don't necessarily feel ready or in the right place to proceed once they've got all the information.
I think it's fair to say as well that nationally we've seen a significant increase in the number of inquiries to foster, and I think to a certain extent that's inevitable when you've got a brand out there more, you've got marketing stalls out there, stopping people and asking them whether it's something that they're interested in, that it's inevitable that you will get an increase in inquiries, but as Kirsty has explained, not necessarily people who have perhaps sat down and thought about it for a significant period of time and are committed to that decision.
So are we sort of still remaining optimistic that it's worth pursuing these different routes because enough numbers will be filtered in, over time? I appreciate it's over time, but they will come over time.
Absolutely, yes, and we're putting lots of energy and activity into our recruitment campaigns. We've progressed to it. We've got, and some of you will have obviously heard the radio adverts, the television adverts. We're running lots of campaigns, not just nationally but also regionally. We've got some really good content from some of our foster carers, and we really engage foster carers in giving messages and giving real life scenarios that they deal with, and that and for them to share the enjoyment that fostering brings. And I think we're just, and I've mentioned it in the report, we're just about to launch our Fostering Teens campaign, and again we've got some really good sort of interviews with foster carers and really nice quotes and things that hopefully will help with that campaign and make it a success.
Can I ask a question, please? In relating to what you told us, do you have inquiries from same-sex foster kids?
Yes, absolutely. We have inquiries from everybody from all different walks of life.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So it's very diverse.
It is, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, please. Thank you.
But no, that's fine. I do think, and I think as all the scrutiny committees, we like real-life case studies, real-life examples. And so I'm sure maybe prospective foster carers would appreciate that as well, because they can sort of see the reality of it, which I think is useful. So moving on to the next question, paragraph 4.10. So there are other foster carers who've been dissatisfied with the service provided by the local authority, and they've chosen to move to a different agency. Have we used the feedback from them, from those that have left, to shape our support from those who are newly recruited?
Yes, we have. We we always offer a meeting with a manager or a supervising social worker to foster carers who are voicing dissatisfaction. They're also offered the exit interview pilot project, and we've taken some really good learning from that as well, and the recent feedback following that pilot ending. And there have been occasions where we've taken some feedback from a foster carer and filtered that back into management group, departmental management group, so that we're really sharing the learning more broadly. So yes, we actively listen to the foster carers and try and make improvements and developments to the service based on their feedback.
Yeah, thank you. I just think if they're moving to other agencies, obviously their desire to foster hasn't gone away. So yeah, it's interesting then to be able to figure out where exactly it fell apart with us and why they've moved away. So that's useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Councillor Seaborn.
Thank you, Chair. My question also relates to 4.10. And during the COVID pandemic, foster carers were being assessed through virtual platforms, and their pre-approval training was delivered virtually. There was a noticeable impact on the quality of assessments undertaken over this period, and many of the foster carers who were approved were less prepared for the challenges they would face, often leading to them only being approved briefly before resigning. Can I ask, has this now been fully addressed?
Yes, absolutely. That has been fully addressed. Our pre-approval training we take as a really good opportunity to share information, talk about the challenges and make sure that prospective foster carers understand those. So yes, that definitely, I can't say that we would ever return to, I mean, you can never say never, but I wouldn't think that we will ever return to pre-approval training being delivered virtually. More recently, and also in terms of assessments, we know that we lose a lot of the non-verbal communication, which is really important within a fostering assessment by delivering sessions virtually. So I'm absolutely confident that most, if not all, sessions of assessment are delivered face-to-face with foster carers. And we have also recently reintroduced foster panel, taking place in person, certainly an offer of in person, and we do like foster carers to come to panel for panel members to be able to meet them and form their own assessment of them face to face.
Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you, Chair.
I think also we've also got to put it into context. I think some of the rationale or some of the reasons people will have made decisions at that particular time as well during the COVID pandemic, and people may have made decisions or will have made decisions based upon the experiences at that time, so they may not have been coming into that fostering world, I guess, with eyes wide open. And, you know, whilst it's commendable that people would want to step forward at that time, it may not have been the right time for them during the pandemic.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Councillor Watkins.
Thank you. Obviously, hopefully, we're out the other side of COVID. I know it's still around, but, you know, the way that we worked at that time. But was there any work done about what if we go into a, you know, we didn't know COVID was going to happen. It really caught everyone, you know, on the hop. What if we go into a similar thing again? How would we deal with that? I guess there's been such significant learning through, I think, the way we operated generally throughout COVID, not just within the fostering world, but in social care generally. I think I could go on forever today about the learning there, but how that would change some of our operational practices. I mean, we never know what's around the corner in terms of, you know, if there were, you know, a situation like a lockdown or anything like that again. But I think our practices would have developed significantly as a result of the learning through COVID. And, you know, I guess we've already discussed, we acknowledge that that online assessment, online learning process wasn't the right one at that time, or wasn't as effective as we would want it to have been. At that time, it was all we could use because of the restrictions that were placed there. But I think, you know, that learning would be taken on board if ever, you know, God forbid we went into a similar situation again.
I think we're looking on the inspection report now and the action plan. In paragraph 4.13, bullet point 1, an area for improvement was in relation to the establishment of a children's participatory group. What benefits will the establishment of this group bring?
Thank you. I think fair to say lots of benefits, definitely. I think we've started off not necessarily with a participatory group, but we're trying a system where we've taken a policy, the Child and Young Persons Guide out, and we've sat with some young people to see what their views are on it and to look at any kind of amendments that are needed. I think there's a real benefit in seeing documents like that through a child or young person's eyes and really listening to their views and how their experiences and their wishes need to be included into that document. So definitely we see it as a journey for us because you can see the list of our policies. We've got a lot of policies inevitably, and I think there would be a lot of benefit in consulting with children and young people, but we're at the beginning of that journey, I think, fair to say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think obviously the biggest problem is going to be getting kids to come forward, you know, but yeah, I think it's a brilliant thing. Next question is Councillor Watkins, please.
Thank you. Yeah, staying with 4.13, but bullet point 4, which is leadership and management. It says one of the areas of improvement was in respect of the need for a diversity of panel members. So how do we recruit panel members? And then how easy or otherwise is this going to be to achieve when it's quite a small pool of potential panel members?
We recruit panel members in the same way that we would recruit a member of staff. So we put an advert out externally on the website, seeking panel members with the job description and person specification. So we have had quite a lot of panel members over the recent kind of couple of years, and we did do quite a big recruitment, I want to say around 2 years ago. So we haven't felt yet that there's been a big need to go back out to advert, but that's certainly on the horizon. I think we would like to go back out to look to see if there's any new panel members who would wish to join us, and we would welcome anybody, obviously depending on their application and discussion with the service.
Can I just clarify, and perhaps it should have been part of my main question, what does the team class as diversity? Is it just from their work experience or their life experience or the type of person that they are? What do we class as diversity?
Yeah, I would say it's exactly as you've said, Councillor Hopkins, in terms of work diversity. We've had representatives from health, education, we've got social work representations as per the regulatory requirements. We've got people from all different types of relationships. We've got people who've been foster carers. We've got people who were previously care experienced, both in mainstream foster care and also within kinship foster care. So we're open to any applications from anybody from any diverse background.
My question concerns paragraph 4.17. MIST started out and was developed in the County Borough of Torfaen in 2004 and became a regional Gwent-wide programme in 2019. What impact has this move to a regional model had, and what elements are delivered at a regional level and what remain at a local level?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about MIST. Yeah, very proud of the fact that it was actually developed at a flagship in Torfaen in 2003, actually. We started under kind of Welsh Government strategy at the time to keep children with complex mental health needs in their local communities. Totally fits with the principles around eliminate and taking profit out of care and a recognition of the poor outcomes for children and young people with mental health needs who are care experienced. So yeah, we were in Torfaen solely until 2017, and then we kind of had an opportunity to develop a pilot in Caerphilly, a kind of neighbouring local authority borough. I think it's fair to say since we are still, each of our locality teams are firmly rooted in their localities, so we have a team for each of that. So Torfaen is embedded and integrated within Torfaen Children's Services, but there are huge benefits of being a regional service as well, as kind of Kirsty indicated with Foster Wales. I think to work in partnership with local authorities to share good practice, to kind of learn from each other and to spread the resource across the region of Gwent, I think is a good thing. And I think what we've learned is a kind of unique service to Torfaen. That was, you think it was it's the only service in Wales of its kind, has been able to be scaled up and replicated across Gwent. And now actually has been, we've had numerous visits from Welsh Government, as you might be aware, some of you will have been involved with them, just kind of acknowledging the good practice that goes on. It truly is a partnership service between health, education and social care, and one that we should be really proud of. So I think the regional scaling up has put the service in a stronger position going forward, because there's always that sense of we are a core service but we're not a statutory provision, and there always is that gap between how we can meet the mental health needs of children who are in the care system. And I think what we've developed in Torfaen and what we've developed regionally is kind of credit to Gwent. It is that achieves really good outcomes. So we've seen no impact, just actually we've grown, and I think we've grown in terms of what we know, what we can deliver that is best practice for children and young people.
Thank you. Does anyone have any follow-up?
Could I say that as being one of the members involved in the Scrutiny Committee years ago, we're very, very proud of the services you've done with the MIST project, and yeah, well done.
I feel very proud to deliver it on behalf. Feel very proud to deliver it on behalf of Children's Services. I was thinking when Kirsty was talking, I still have an opportunity to work directly with some of the carers within Torfaen, thinking about the comments you were making about foster carers, but it's a service that they really benefit from. Being able to have access to what we call psychological support or trauma-informed care. I really, it's hard to do that without access to people who can support and help you. As we were saying, for foster carers, it's not just about the money, it's about the support that they receive. And I think that's pretty exceptional in Torfaen. what we've got to offer, and we've got more therapeutic foster carers as a result than any of our other neighbouring authorities as well. Jason, I think you might...
Yeah, I was just going to say, it goes without saying we're exceptionally proud of where MIST started and where it's developed, and the ability to share that experience and that practice across the region is great and really welcome. What we do see, which I think Jenny sold us out short a little bit then, because what we do see, and I guess there may be some further questions on this later, is real good outcomes for children and young people that go through and have a service from MIST, and real good strong outcomes for our foster carers as well who experience that. Jumping back to the point I was going to answer though, in terms of the benefits of that regional approach. Obviously, what we've seen there is an economy of scale. Whilst but we've seen budgets shrink, what that's enabled us to do, I think, that regional approach is continue to build MIST as well. What we've also got as well is it sits across the ABUHB health footprint as well, and that clinical approach then that we've got through the MIST project is replicated regionally as well. So I think there's that consistency of approach for a child and young person wherever they live, and even if they're moving in between the local authority areas within Gwent as well. So we've really got that consistency and that economy of scale and that real ability to continue to build upon MIST.
Councillor Seabold.
Yeah, thank you. I'm extremely proud of the MIST project, and just for the newer members to see where it came from. It came out of the first ever youth conference where our young people and children leaving care were telling us that if they had a social worker on their shoulder, they'd get everything done. But if they attempted to come to the council and ask about a problem that they had personally and to try to do it themselves, they got pushed from pillar to post. So the MIST project came out of those children telling us exactly what was missing and, not having them listen. So we brought everybody together from each department so that there was a young person's MIST service. So I'm proud of the fact that I was the executive member at the time. So well done and keep it up.
Thank you, Councillor Seabold. Councillor Price, you've got the next question.
Thank you, Chair. My question relates to paragraph 4.22. 2 therapeutic foster carers are retiring this year. How much more difficult is it to recruit therapeutic carers? What if we can't replace those that are retiring? Is the level of demand for MIST foster carers increasing?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Yeah, we've had foster carers, therapeutic foster carers in Torvine for sort of 18, 19 years for some of them, which is a massive credit if you think you're working with a smaller pool of people who want to care for children with more complex needs. It's not for everybody because the intensity, you have to work with a team 24 hours a day. We were talking earlier about intrusion into foster carers' life. The process is intrusive for them. Based on the child's needs, of course. But yeah, so we've had long-term foster carers who are retiring in a very positive way. Some of our carers retiring are still going to offer mainstream foster caring. So they're coming back into the Torvine resource, which is amazing, isn't it? 'Cause they've got all that experience of working with children, often teenagers, and with more complex needs to offer. And some are retiring because they've got their own grandchildren to care for, and actually this role is demanding for them. I do think we've been fortunate to still recruit this year, 1 or 2. We only ever want a small pool of those carers, although we have seen a rise in the use of out-of-county residential care for children, not necessarily based on their needs all the time, I would say. I would say it's a direct result of a shortage of fostering families and potentially some of the impacts of the unintended consequences of the Eliminate Agenda means that some of the private providers are considering, and there's less resource available, and that's a national thing. I think at the moment it just feels acute that the capacity for us to even match young people into placements or to consider their needs is quite a scarce resource across the board nationally for fostering. So I think we have recruited, which I feel really positive about, and often we've recruited from all walks of life, people who've had personal experience of dealing with a child with additional needs, through to someone working in an independent agency, through to residential workers who've had an experience of working with us and want to foster that child, and we really actively want to promote that sort of relationship-based approach to care. So we're very fortunate. We always have, at the moment in Torvine, we do have more young people waiting for those therapeutic. I think we could help more young people if we had more foster carers available to us. But we also work a lot with kinship carers, with birth families, so children who might have been on a care order to the local authority but are placed directly back with their parents because that's the right option for them. And as Jason said, we've got some really great outcomes for children to be reunified with their birth families. We work more with SGO carers now than we ever had, with a recognition that SGOs, special guardianship orders, also have children with additional needs. And a trend for us in the last couple of years is working with adoptive families. So seeing a lot of more adoption disruptions and children coming into the care system. And that's like almost like a double whammy of rejection. So those needs often escalate quite quickly. So they've been rejected as their perception from their families, and then they also have another rejection within their adoptive families. So we kind of work with those. Therapeutic foster care is only one strand of the type of care placements that we can offer young people. But we certainly have recruited. I think we've got loads of strategy and a good strategy. So, for example, 2 weeks ago we had all the skills to foster, the pre-approval training, all the people come, and some were interested in actually therapeutic care, and so we can talk face to face with carers, and we're obviously involved with the team around all the recruitment events and things that go on.
Thank you.
Councillor Watkins.
Thank you. It might be hard to say, but is there an optimum number of therapeutic foster carers that you'd like to have?
I mean, back in the day, quite a long time ago, we kind of felt between 4 and 6, and I think it should always be a small amount, because the danger is you might, if you increase it too much, you might place children who don't have that level of need within those. But I feel like we do need a few more. It would be good to have a couple more at least within our pool of offers. Certainly when we have discussions about children, we know that they could really benefit from a therapeutic foster placement. You know, they are in high demand, really. And we usually have 3 or 4 children potentially being matched to 1. So we definitely could do with a few more.
Just coming back to Jen's point about, you know, not wanting to place children with therapeutic foster carers who perhaps don't have that level of need, I think it's important to point out that our therapeutic foster carers are salaried foster carers, so there is a financial impact on increasing the number of therapeutic foster carers as well.
I was just going to add that I know that the team have worked alongside Foster Wales as well to look at specific recruitment campaigns for missed carers. So that's something that is certainly kept on the agenda, and we have run specific campaigns around that. So, you know, Foster Wales is supporting with that as well.
Okay. My next question refers to paragraph 4.27. We are developing a local campaign around fostering teenagers, which is due to launch in October, November 2025. Is this a particular challenge for us in Torvine? I guess it's possibly a national issue. Could you just explain the issues around that, please?
Yes, absolutely. As you said, it is a national issue. It's one that I think, fair to say, we would now say that one of our needs for recruitment are children aged 10 plus. It's certainly lowered, I think, over the years, down to 10 plus. So that's what we're talking about when we're referring to teens. I think there are lots of challenges with any foster placement, aren't there? But in terms of caring for teenagers, obviously you've got lots of other challenges on top of the challenges caring for younger children. So we're quite excited around the campaign that we're due to launch. We've got lots, as I've said, some really nice materials. We've got things directly from foster carers. We've got lots of nice quotes and lots of positives and lots of videos to go alongside other material that we've already kind of put out there in the social media world. So we'll be rerunning some of the videos and real life case examples as well as part of this campaign. So I think I answered your question there.
Yeah, I guess so. Having had a couple of kids of my own, I'm aware that the challenges, they don't go away, do they? They sort of get worse as they get older.
Absolutely not. And all of the internet and social media and all of the, you know, hormones and yes, absolutely.
We'll leave it there, I think. Councillor Thomas.
Can I ask that, Chair? Talking about the issues for older children as well, can you tell us what support you give to foster carers out of hours? And is the support timely, please?
Yes. So we've touched on support groups. They're obviously there, but they're not necessarily something that you would access in an emergency or with an immediate concern. We have an out-of-hours support telephone line for our foster carers and our special guardians. So that's there available to them until midnight every day of the year. After midnight, MIST have their own support line for MIST therapeutic foster carers and you know the carers that they're working with. But for our mainstream kinship carers and special guardians, that it would be South East Wales Emergency Duty Team after midnight until business opening hours the following day, so until 8:30 in the morning.
Just to come in there, sorry Kirsty, yeah, just to say MIST is a 24-hour service. I mean, some of the kind of national research recently around access to care when you're in a crisis is really needed out of hours, so we often link really closely with the fostering out of hours and EDT, but MIST carers, all our carers, whether you're a therapeutic carer or a local authority foster carer, kinship, a birth parent, receive the 24-hour support from our team. Is very well used, appropriately so though, because often a crisis that someone has is out of hours, isn't it? Can be. So there's that to kind of support the fostering team, but also I think we offer quite a lot of foster carer consultations, so foster carers can access kind of directly to our psychologists and our teams around that kind of more trauma-informed care. So there's lots of ways we can support, and I think if you give good quality support in the day, you often can reduce the amount of the need for out-of-hours support. So I think there's lots of ways that we connect through training, consultation, advice and guidance that foster carers can access that additional resource through MIST. So even though we would work with a small number of children intensively, we try and spread that through offering foster carers that support, and they're always really booked up. They're always well received. The training modules are always well attended. So I think there's that need to provide access to other things other than just a social care support, which is important. Often foster carers want to understand how to manage a child's behaviour or look at what's going on underneath the behaviour or have some advice on how they can manage an incident. Those sorts of things are the things that we offer out of hours as well.
So can you just explain did you say South East Wales? So how many authorities is that then?
Yes, so that's Gwent, South East Wales Emergency Duty Team. So it's the 5 local authorities in Gwent that's available to. It is for all social services matters.
Have we done a survey of our foster carers to see how they find that service is working?
No, that's something we haven't actually considered, but I think that's a good suggestion.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, the next question was yours. Yeah, I thought we'd covered it. Thank you. Councillor Williams then, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is a question that actually came out of our really interesting meeting with the foster carers group. And it was very useful from our point of view, listening to their sort of, you know, the benefits and the challenges. But for us to understand the whole picture, what do you, as social workers working with foster carers, what do you find particularly challenging or areas where you would like more support, given I know that capacity is always an issue? So, you know, yeah. A generic question, and maybe one of
I mean,
but it's important for us to understand, you know, the whole picture.
Yeah, I can start that, because having worked with the fostering social workers quite closely for a long time, it is, as I was saying, having access to different types of models of care that are kind of trauma informed and what you'd call more specialist, but actually how do you support the adults to care for a child who's experienced trauma in their lives. So having access, I think, to more specialist support and training is one, I would say. So what you get in your kind of standard practice, but also having access to more kind of expertise to help them then be able to support foster carers. So keeping abreast of what's current, what's evidence-based practice, what's best practice. I think also reflective practice and good quality supervision. So it's not just about tasks and what you do, it's also having an opportunity to reflect on why you do what you do. Did I make a difference? What are the outcomes for those children? Because all the time we're trying to, we know that outcomes for care experienced children can be poor at times. And what we're trying to do is improve those outcomes across their health needs, their social care needs, their education needs as a whole. So having access to different professional groups and difference other than just a social care lens. And I know we get lots of requests for consultations from social workers say, can I just pick your brains? Can I ask a question? Am I doing the right thing here? Sometimes people just need reassurance that actually what they're doing is really good quality practice. So I think there's a whole range of things that people need to enable them to do their job well, I would say. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Kirsty.
I'm not sure I do. I think I'd need a bit more time to consider that. Fair enough.
I guess what's coming across is you're saying that what is really important, isn't it? So time for effective practice, time for good supervision, time for specific training, and I'm guessing that probably workload and capacity probably impact on that. But no, I don't expect it. But just to say that we're aware, you know, that there's challenges on all sides. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? Oh, okay. Councillor Jones.
Thank you. My question is in relation to Appendix 2, the action plan. The task and finish group was not convened due to work being completed by Foster Network in respect of protective care agreement, and it was our intention to adopt these and move away from safer care agreements. This work is, however, delayed, and a time frame isn't currently available for the information. Will steps we've taken to address this area for improvement fully address the issues whilst we are waiting the positive care agreements?
Thank you. Yes, we have revised our safer care agreement, and we have circulated it, recirculated it and uploaded it onto the members' area based on the feedback received from the inspectors. So we feel that the revised document does respond and address the recommendation from the inspectors. However, some of the members of the team have been given the opportunity to look at the protective care agreements, and we do feel that that would be the way that we would want to go. So we do intend to fully embed them into the service as soon as they're available, and we're hopeful that that will be in the near future. So we're not expecting there to be a significantly long delay with that. So we feel like we've addressed it for the time being, but we do feel that that gives us that puts you into an even stronger position using the new protective care agreements.
That's great, because I was going to ask the time scale, but as I said, if you keep us updated, that would be brilliant.
Yes.
Thanks, Chair.
I've just got a quick follow-up. Can you just explain briefly the difference between a protective care agreement and a safer care agreement?
Yes, thank you. They are quite similar. There's lots of areas of similarity. I think what the protective care agreement is a different, just a different document, possibly with a different name, but it's kind of a revised document with lots of prompts in there, which will make sure that the really important issues are addressed. And we have been able to move some of those prompts into our safer care agreements to ensure that it covers us until we can introduce the new agreements.
So would you say this was kind of more preemptive, if you like?
Yes, and I think what it also introduces is a separate part of the protective care agreement around allegations and disclosures. So it gives a format where we can have those really clear conversations with foster carers before any, within the assessment phase, and an annual basis, based on what protective arrangements could be put in place should there be an allegation or an issue around the children in their care. So I think that's really good as well. That's another thing.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Anyone on that? Where we're looking into, we're Councillor Watkins.
Thank you. Yeah, still looking at the action plan. One of the issues was improved placement matching process. Now, we know that the matching process is massively important, so we were slightly surprised that the authority had been pulled up on matching. It's in amber on the action plan with a projected completion date of the end of October 25. So is that a realistic deadline? And if not, what do you think is a realistic completion date?
Yes, absolutely. We have revised our placement matching form. I think it was a very, very long document, and I think that whilst we were effectively matching children and young people to placements as best we can, I think the length of the document put social workers off using it to the, as effectively as they could. So whilst we were documenting sort of strengths and some vulnerabilities and mitigating factors around the placement, I don't think we were doing it to the best of our ability. So the revised matching form has been reviewed as part of a task and finish group, and it has now been circulated. So it is out there. The team have it, and they are aware of the expectations placed upon them. So it's probably slightly ahead of time scale on that.
So no, that's obviously very good to hear. So then you're going to try and get some form of feedback from the people who are using it, just to confirm that it is more appropriate to use.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, you've got the next question, Bob.
Thank you. Yeah, so also on the action plan is a review of current learning and development offer for foster carers. So when is that meeting going to take place?
There have been some meetings regarding this already, both within Torvine but also on a regional basis, because we're looking to move our learning and development offer for foster carers to a more regional model. And that links to MIST as well. MIST deliver some training to foster carers, a package of training, and that will be more on a regional. It's more of a regional offer rather than just for Torvine foster carers. So there's a meeting, I believe it's next week, where I'll be meeting with the team managers and also the workforce development team. But those conversations have already started, and there is an awareness across the board of the need to make sure that our learning and development package is improved for our foster carers. So I'm confident that we'll have that resolved fairly soon. And then it will just be about making sure that we've got the right trainers, and I think it will need continual review, because what we are hearing from some of our foster carers is that they prefer face-to-face learning, but then we're also hearing from other foster carers that what they like is evening courses and online courses. So I think it's going to be difficult to make everyone happy, but hopefully by offering it on a more regional basis, we'll be able to shape it a bit better to the needs of everybody.
Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you. So this is in relation to Action Plan Point 3. So the response to Q3 lists the policies and guidance for foster carers and their responsibilities. Is there a policy or specific piece of guidance for foster carers on mobile phone and internet use?
There isn't a specific policy, but the foster carers have a foster carer handbook where lots of information is covered and lots of guidance. So I will go back and check that policy to make sure that I'm satisfied with what it covers, but it is included in the foster carer handbook.
Councillor Thomas, please.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on the appendix, and it's regarding child's history. How do we ensure consistency in this approach? And is there sufficient capacity in the team to help and support this and avoid delays? I see that it's done by the resource team or the family intervention workers.
Yes. So this relates to life history, life journey work for children and young people. Okay, yes, thank you. So resource is a challenge, and not every young person is in the right place to have that work undertaken with them. So I'd say it's quite fluctuating demand. For children who are placed for adoption, their life journey book is undertaken, and there's, that's undertaken and monitored as part of the adoption process. I think that there are waiting lists for life journey work, but again, some of those children might not be in the right place to receive it at that time. And there has always been a feeling that a child needs to be in a stable placement before they'll be in a place to receive that work. So I can't say with confidence that that's without challenge or that there aren't any waiting lists, but it's something that we're all very aware of and keeping an eye on the waiting list.
Councillor Walker.
Thank you. Can I just clarify, so who makes that decision as to whether the child is ready to start that journey?
I'd say usually the child social worker. Yeah, in conjunction with the foster carers, provided they're in a stable placement. I say it's a collective kind of decision about whether or not the child's in the right place.
Just to come in, yeah, I agree with that. It often is the child social worker, but we've also been thinking more thematically across Torvine about life journey work in particular, and how we involve all the adults in that, so it's not necessarily a piece of work that a child goes to. As well, we need to help equip foster carers to be, because often children will drop a question in when you're in the car or you're cooking dinner in a way of indirectly asking, so how we can help support across the whole of our workforce, including foster carers, to equip them with the necessary skills to be able to answer those things in a way that is the most, best practice again. So we've been thinking thematically about how we can start to deliver. I know Gwent-wide there are some sort of life story training opportunities through SUAS and the adoption service, but we've been thinking about that as a workforce development issue, how we can help everybody have a role to play in life journey work, to support children to understand their history.
Just to say, I think we've also got a really good tool that was developed by SUAS, the adoption service, which includes a document which is on the members' the website area for foster carers, which really helps them to think about the information that they'd want to keep and share with children and young people that are placed with them, but also things that they might, keepsakes and other important things that they would like, keep in a kind of memory box. So I think there's a really good tool there which kind of starts the process for foster carers and helps foster carers to make sure that they're keeping the right things for the children.
Just a specific question of who makes the decision as well. Of course, the child makes the decision as well, don't they? And I think, as Jenny's pointed out, that can come through a different number of means, in that it can be done indirectly, it can be done almost incidentally, just during a conversation, or it can be done quite directly of, I want to do this piece of work. So, of course, like keeping that child at the centre of that decision-making, and that's making sure the time's right for them, but hearing what they want as well from it.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's something that there were definitely quite a few comments about when we met with the foster carers, and definitely I think they would like that support. It's interesting to know that you're sort of including them now, because I think they really feel strongly they should be. Thank you.
Councillor Seaborn, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to know, having gone through that situation where a child has asked me, tell me about when I was little mummy, as a foster child, I just wondered what we did have support within the local authority for this life story journey work. I just wondered, now I understand that our foster carers travel to Cardiff for this type of support, but what kind of waiting list are we looking at if a child has decided they are ready for it?
I think, Councillor Seaborn, probably what you're referring to is specific therapeutic life journey work. So perhaps that play therapy, for example, and we did have access internally to a play therapist at one point, and that resource is no longer available. As we don't have an internal resource, there shouldn't be a waiting list as such for children to access that support, because obviously we would be commissioning that out. But I think coming back to the point that Jenny made, from my perspective, if we get this right from the beginning in terms of supporting a child to understand their life history, their birth family, etc., it reduces the need for that specialist therapeutic support at a later stage. So for me, that's where we should really be focusing our efforts, to get it right from the beginning, to support foster carers and the whole network around children and young people, to share information appropriately with them, to support them to understand their identity on a kind of drip basis throughout their life, so that it isn't a significant thing that they require therapeutic support for. But yeah, in answer to your specific question, there shouldn't be waiting lists, as it would be something that we would be commissioning out.
Can I also come back that, you know, the difference between the kinship carers is that they already know the family and they've been involved or are probably part of the family, whereas our employed foster carers haven't got any or they're short of information about whether or not they're siblings and what kind of thing. So it's that support, the family journey support, that I was looking at. Thank you.
Okay. Right, well, it's down to me for the concluding question. You'll all be glad to hear. The findings of the care inspection are welcomed, and the actions and activities set out in the action plan to address the area's improvement. But on completion of those activities, what next for progressing our foster care service further?
I think there'll always be something next, because there'll always be a continued demand to increase the number of foster carers that we get. So I think it's continuing to do what we do in terms of our efforts to recruit and retain, and also continuing to work with our colleagues both regionally and nationally, so that we can learn from others, and ensuring that we, you know, continue to consult with our foster carers, because they're the ones who can tell us, they're the ones who are living that experience and who can give us the best possible advice in terms of, you know, what that means to them and what we need to do in order to support them effectively for them to remain with us. So I think more of the same, but continuing to review that and learning from others.
Just rather broadly, I think we've got a mantra within the service area, within the directorate, and I guess within the local authority, around continuous improvement. So it's that almost that point of never standing still, wherever we are. You know, we just want to be better and better and better, and that includes, you know, better in terms of our recruitment and retention, better in terms of the support we can provide. So there's, you know, we have every confidence within the service area that there's never going to be that point of standing still, unfortunately for them, perhaps.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's, yeah, always room for improvement, and who knows what the challenges of the future are going to bring us. But I would, at that point, like to thank you all for attending, and thank you for your answering your questions so well, brilliantly. I thought I've learned a lot this morning. I'm sure other members have. And you can leave us now if you like.
Thank you all. Thank you, members. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, can I remind you, please, that the meeting is still in formal proceedings and still being webcast? And can I refer you now to the scrutiny activity and invite you to offer your recommendations?
Thank you, Chair. So if I can just remind members of the scrutiny activity for your meeting today. So in addressing your key question, the Children and Families Overview and Scrutiny Committee is invited to review the information contained in the report and obviously the responses to the questions that you've posed today, and to determine firstly whether you are satisfied that the activities proposed will address the recommendations from CIW in respect of our foster care service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And secondly, to assess whether the activities proposed will further improve our foster care service and increase our in-house provision.
I think yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And then finally, to open it up to make your recommendations to the Executive Member for Children, Families and Education on areas that you consider would be suitable for further improvement or focus.
Okay. I'd like to, sorry, in regards to my question about the funding, which was question 10, when we asked is the funding for foster care a long-term commitment, they said no. I think that as a committee we ought to urge Welsh Authority to urge Welsh Government to increase funding or make a continual commitment.
My only question would be, is that within our remit? Yeah.
I guess you could make a recommendation to the Executive Member that in the suitable forums, the Welsh Government forums that relate to foster care that he would sit on, that he makes that case for, if possible, you know, that the good work would warrant continued funding for that.
I wonder if I could add to that. I don't know whether we can make it a similar representation, because they were also saying, from what they were saying about the full-time community support worker, they're doing a really important role, but there still needs to be confirmation of funding for that. And I think I would be concerned if that role didn't continue, would actually put more pressure on social workers. So I don't know whether we can include that as a similar recommendation, because it's also about funding. Yeah.
Comment?
I think your mic was off, Andrew.
It's on now.
Yeah.
Councillor Seaborn, do you hear me?
Thank you. Now I can. Sorry. And I must apologise, halfway through my computer died, so I'm on my phone at the moment. So I think there's a recommendation on the life story, because they were talking about therapeutic life journey, but I think there is a gap there for, and there's an inequality with kinship carers and our own foster carers on actually knowing some of the life story for the, because when children ask questions, you know, it's good that they have the pertinent answers for them, and training should be given on that. But I think it needs to expand not only to the therapeutic counselling, it's the training for our own carers for the life journey work. There's also another one on the update of the handbook, which was the mobile phone question. I think Kirsty said she wasn't aware of it, but she was going to check. And there is a need for a policy on the mobile phone and IT.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Agreed. Councillor Thomas, do you want to jump in?
Just to say, could we look into perhaps having an update on the out-of-hours policy and the support given? We have consulted with the foster carers, how they find the services, please.
So, sorry, to make a recommendation that they seek feedback from our foster carers as to how they find that service.
I think we want to put something together about the grant that we apply to the grants. Well, normally there's, when you get your budget, you get the main grants to cover the service, and then there are additional grants for specific activities or specific projects. And I would imagine that the grants that where the funding is not assured are in those.
Is it the enhanced payments?
No, I can't remember what you call it. It's the service-specific grants that you get with the budget. So maybe have a think about that. Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, so looking at question 7, I made a note there that for a recommendation. Yeah, I think it was about clarity, wasn't it, on the parental responsibility. Yes. Yeah, I think there's a recommendation there, because the foster carers, I think, that we spoke to would welcome that. So what exactly is covered by that parental responsibility, more specifically, I think.
Do a kind of short and sweet. If this, then this.
Yeah, I think picking up on that, Jen, I wonder if we could couch the recommendation to say we recommend that work needs to be done to ensure that foster carers clearly understand about the delegated roles between, because obviously I didn't pick up from them at all at that visit that there was any understanding of the different delegated powers that, or not, that special guardian, were there any special guardians there? Or were they just long term?
I think there was...
The kinship one.
Sorry, I think there was somebody who was going to go down that process, but there wasn't anybody in the room I'm aware of that was a special guardian.
Yeah. It just didn't, well, I don't know what you think, you were there, but it didn't seem clear to me that they understood that process, because they were all saying, both the kinship and the long-term carers, we don't get the information, we don't have. So that was saying, and that was the very first time I heard that word, delegated. Yeah. So it's just just to formulate the recommendation that a little bit of work needs to be done on clear communication about delegated powers across the different types of foster care.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Didn't Kirsty say there's a foster carer handbook as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, perhaps there must be some sort of, well, yeah, maybe make it a bit simpler. If there is a guide. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Will always need updating, I suppose, and improving. Yeah. So perhaps that could be a recommendation.
I think it might be a little difficult to make a recommendation because you haven't specifically scrutinised the handbook to know what extent. So I would just keep it focused on those specific elements.
Is there a recommendation around question 23, which was Lucy's question? And I'm not sure that we maybe got the answer that we were looking for. So I think you asked them, didn't you, what areas do you as workers find challenging and where would you like more support? And I'm not sure that we got an answer to that. So is there a recommendation in there about that?
I think that's a tricky one because that's also a little bit about, I don't know, I'm asking the question now, Bex, whether this committee has a role in, because that's all about operational practice, isn't it? And I don't know actually if that's our remit to delve into operational practice. I don't know, I'm asking the question.
I think perhaps it was just obviously a difficult question to ask on the spot when it is operational and say, you know, what's your wish list ultimately, isn't it? It's difficult for them to then answer that. So in terms of a recommendation, I'm not sure how you would pose that really in terms of, it wasn't a case of things not being delivered or anything that could be improved. I mean, Jen did say obviously that there are always more training or time for reflection and things, but again that goes back to a capacity issue of them having the opportunity to do things like that. So I think it's a difficult one really for you to recommend.
I agree. Councillor Seabold.
Thank you. Is there something about the recommendation for out of hours? Because they were going to go back and reflect with our foster carers on whether or not the out of hours service was working.
Yeah, Councillor Thomas picked that one up, so I've noted that.
Oh, brilliant. Sorry about that. This phone is quite difficult.
Anyone else?
I made a little asterisk around question 8, but I don't know. So, when we were asking the question about the birthday allowance payable, and they were just saying as a general statement that the policy about managing allowances differs across all the different authorities. So, why did I put an asterisk?
I picked up on that when it was with regards to Councillor Slade's question about the Welsh Government consultation.
Right, okay.
And they weren't sure of the deadline or when the proposals would be brought forward. But Kirsty did say that they would be willing to, or Jacqueline said they'd be willing to share the outcome. So I would put that on the action sheet rather than a recommendation for you to receive that one as well. So,
I think it's Welsh Government intend to maybe standardise the procedure across the authorities. So I guess that's what the aim is with that.
I thought, I know something helpful, I thought I'd made a note that there were two that Kirsty was going to come back with. That was one, and I thought there was another bit of information she was going to come back with, but I can't find my note on it now. Does anybody know what that was? Okay, so the other potential recommendation, I don't know if we want to do it or not, is that they do persist and do everything they can to get more therapeutic foster carers. Because if we've got two at the moment, they'd ideally like 4 to 6. Oh, therapeutic foster carers, yeah. Do we want a recommendation that they, persist with everything that they're doing to try and improve more? Yes, she did, I think, in getting too many. Yeah. So, no, we don't want too many. But she also said, ideally 4 to 6, and we've only got 2. That's what I think we do. I think past that point, yes, we're probably putting the money in the wrong place. Yeah, but up to that point, I think it's...
I think on question 24, Chair, Kirsty said she would come back to us an update regarding the steps taken waiting for the positive care agreements. So there's an action.
Councillor Seymour.
Thank you. I don't think this came up in the conversation or the questions, but it was something that was brought up in our meeting with the foster carers about the hospital rotas, the 12-hour shifts that our foster carers are expected to do sitting in the mum and baby rooms. And I wondered whether it was a recommendation of the executive member to just check out whether or not the 12-hour shifts for a foster carer not able to leave the room and sitting in a chair for 12 hours was something that he could look up. And
yeah, I remember that.
So if it's okay with you, obviously, because that hasn't been discussed today, we can't pose that as a recommendation, but I can note that as a question and seek a response for you, Councillor Seaborn, and I can circulate it to the committee. Would that be okay? Yeah.
It's something the exec member might want to look at, I think. Bex, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the other thing I noted, I found it out, was about the handbook, and so we may have already covered this, but I noted that Kirsty will check what exactly it does say about mobile phones and get back to us on that. So is that?
Yeah, I think we covered that.
Right, we covered that, okay.
Anything else? I think we got, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the recommendations with regards to funding, so that's in 2 parts about lobbying Welsh Government with regards to the funding for longer-term funding for foster care Wales, and then the family support workers is a slightly separate stream of funding. We've got the recommendation with regards to life stories and making sure it's sort of equal in guidance for kinship carers and foster carers as well. There's the recommendation with regard to the reviewing the sections of the handbook, specifically on the mobile phone and also the internet, and there was another part, wasn't there? Handbook. Oh, the advice to parental responsibility. Yes. Yeah. Then there was a recommendation with regards to seeking feedback from the foster carers on the out-of-hours service that they're accessing. There was the Councillor Slade, your point about the grants recommendation, parental responsibility one we've just covered, and then the recommendation on the therapeutic foster carers and working to ensure that we have the right number of those. And then there's a couple of action points which I've noted which will go on the action sheet. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, would we make a note on the minutes about just our thanks to the foster carers for their support, who our meeting with them and how helpful we found their meeting. I don't know whether it would be on the, recorded on the minutes, it would be on the internet, but whether it would be actually minuted on the meeting, though, thanks to the group.
Okay. Are we all happy with our recommendations tonight? Okay, then we can move on back to the agenda. And I think it's agenda item 6, consideration of item for next meeting. And this is Rebecca's.
Thank you, Chair. So, as you'll be aware, it's pretty busy coming up now because there are 2 proposed joint meetings. So, this committee combined with Education Committee. So, the first joint meeting proposed is for the 16th of October, which is on the mental health services for children. And then the next one in what would have been a Children and Families Committee slot is the 4th of December, and that would be looking at education provision for children looked after. So are you still happy with those 2 items? Yeah.
So is that one also?
Yes, so the next 2 meetings are joint. Yes, thank you.
The next solo one is 5th of February. So, and that's going to be on data sharing. Okay, everybody happy? Yeah. Councillor Seaborn, happy? We can conclude the meeting there then. I'd like to thank you all very much for your contributions there. It's been really interesting and enlightening, I think. Okay, thank you very much.